In an office environment, there's many different personalities. Everybody has different issues inside the office, outside the office. Most people that have issues outside the office will bring them into the office, and they're not able to really disconnect themselves. And amongst my peers and my staff, what I introduced was a green, yellow, red flag concept. Everyone has a cubicle and everyone has these green flags, and you put them up, or you green and yellow flags or red flags depending on your moods for the day. So it initializes and it lets the other person within our group of our team be aware of what this other person's zone is at that time. And it's made a huge difference and a huge impact, whereas if someone's in a green zone, we know they're easily approachable, not a problem that day. Someone's in a yellow zone, then we know, okay, give them a few minutes just so they can calm down and go back to their more or less neutral or green zone. And when anyone had that red flag up, then we knew to stay away from them for that throughout the course of the day. A funny story, actually, one of my directors of finance came from the U.S. Visiting us on a tour of our office. So after spending the whole day with him, he came down into my office, and walking around, he noticed all these flags up, and he noticed my flag specifically, and he came into my office and said, Ralph, tell me, what are these flags for? Why do you have these flags up? And I explained it. I said, well, I explained as much to my abilities what the green zone is. Essentially what I did was explain what the green zone meant to me. And I said, this is our way of coping with every day, because everyone's different. Everyone has a good day, everyone has a bad day, everyone has a normal day. So depending on how each person feels, we've put those flags up. So when they feel bad, they can put up their red or yellow flags, or if they feel great, they put up their green flag. And my director of finance loved it. He was very impressed, and he actually said that that's a great concept, and I'd love to get a chance to read that book and apply it within our office. Later, after that, I found out that there's actually another version of the Green Zone. The book that I had read is working in your green environment or green zone, which I'm eager to get my hands on.
As with any model, if it can't become functional and useful for the individual, they're going to not participate in the treatment or the well-being of it. In order to do this, obviously we need to recognize that young children don't have the capacity to advocate and facilitate change on their own. So it was really important for me to support them in developing those kind of relationships and connections for them. There was a lot of collaboration with the parents in educating them around the concept of the green zone and using the language to help the young person manage themselves in a more functional way. Once the parents had embraced it and were more on board, it was much easier then to take it back to the school and advocate for the school to develop the same sort of language, the same sort of interactions, the same sort of concept and understanding. What that did was allow the systems to recognize the child as somebody that experiences distress in a manner that doesn't overly personalize it against the person that the distress is happening to. So with that in mind, the school then began to understand the areas that were much more distressing for the individual and how they could support him in the yellow and the red zone and help invite him into the green zone for the purposes of improving their opportunity to educate him, as well as for his opportunity to feel more competent and functional at school. It was a wonderful experience. The school staff greatly understood the concept and the purpose of it and the reasoning and the rationale. So we offered a sort of mini school case conference with the major players, teachers, supervisors in the yards, school administration, lunch monitors, significant peers and others in the young person's life, and educated them about the model, which got them to be very much his green zone invitation. So the young person was able to then have multiple invitations to the green zone, even though they may have been drifting into the yellow or red. Subsequently, the young person began to experience school in a much less conflictual and combative way, and his behavior and his attitude and his mood and his motivation towards learning, school, caregivers, disciplinarian people became much softer and much more pleasant, much more manageable for him, and he began to feel greater competency, greater personal control of his behavior. His ideas and his thoughts were being more well received by his peers, therefore his social relationships began to improve. So it was a very positive sort of experience for this individual.
In business, there's a lot of stress associated with business. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of, in my view, accidents waiting to happen. And for me, it's just a way of managing myself and the people who work with me and my customers so that really we all stay in our green zone and we all win at the end of the day.
Nobody's immune to the yellow or red zone. It's a matter of how you manage it when you get there to take you back to the green zone. And in doing that, I think it's really important to do what I think are the 3 R's. To recognize your zone, then learn how to recover from your zone, and then learn how to restrain yourself from entering a negative zone. Once you're able to master that, then you're able to then manage, assess, recognize, recover, and restrain yourself in certain situations within your own personal life. Therefore, you're going to have a much more enriched family life, enriched intimacy, personal life with your significant other, your neighbors, and that kind of stuff. Because the green zone is not just about a sliver of one's life. It's about a lifestyle.
When I was exploring this whole phenomenon of human existence, human condition, before I became a psychotherapist, I was a poet. And my fascination as a poet was the mystery of love. What is this phenomenon that two people who are strangers, they look at each other, they feel something, and then they're willing to do anything. And that romance, that passion grows. They go for candlelight dinners, they go for long walks, they say all these promises. I used to say, is it temporary insanity or is it a reality? And then gradually, the thing that really surprised me was the same two lovers, the same two people who are passionately in love with each other finally turn out to be strangers, even as enemies. And the question was, how did this love turn into this hate? And I discovered the dark side of love, the dark side of love that can show as jealousy, that can show as insecurity, that can show as anger, that can show resentment. And I was fascinated as a student of human psychology that how does this happen? How does this transformation take place? How does this person who is so loving can be so resentful? And if you see the divorces, it can end up in a bitter divorces, thousands of dollars, thousands of hours, and they are at a stage that they do not want even to look at each other, do not want to talk to each other, do not always want to converse with each other. And even with their children, the bitterness, the resentment goes on from one generation to the other. And I was exploring that in my clinic day after day, week after week. A moment came. There was a moment in that one of the sessions where I said to this gentleman, I said, you say to me you love this woman. You say to me you will do anything for her. But on the other hand, you don't respect her. You are angry with her. You say these negative things. And he said to me, you know, Dr. Suhail, I just can't control it. I just don't know what happened. Something takes over me. And then I behave in a way, and the next day I'm regretful. I say, I'm sorry. And then she says, you said sorry 5 days ago. You said sorry 10 times before. I don't believe you anymore. Your words don't mean anything. They're empty promises. And then I said to him, you know, let me give you an idea. And he was very attentively listening to me. And I said, do you drive? He said, yes. I said, do you see these traffic lights? And he said, yes. I said, what happens when you are passing through and you see yellow? And he looked at me and he said, I put the foot on the accelerator. And I said, why is that? He said, I'm always in a hurry to go to work, to get home. And I said, a wise man does not put the foot on the accelerator. A wise man put the foot on the brakes. And that is how it is a communication between you and your wife. If you really love her, if you really adore her, if you want to save your marriage, you have to learn to put your foot on the brakes when it is yellow, when you are angry and you are frustrated, before you say things that you're going to regret the next day. And some of it clicked. And the next week, when I met his wife, and he said, I don't know what you did. This man has changed. There was this dramatic change that he got this point. And it is like, I had just shared that as a very casual an image in my mind, but the effect on him was so drastic that I thought maybe I hit upon something wonderful.